Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Try that one more time. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, great. I'm so pleased to see so many of you here, and I appreciate you coming out for this very special event. And I hope you've enjoyed looking at a few of my pictures through the years. And first off, I want to thank my dad, who gave us this wonderful meatloaf recipe we're enjoying today. And we honor him every time we make it. And he passed a while back, but he lingers on in his recipe book that he gave me. So honor him with that. And then I hope you enjoyed the dessert. That's my version of a Paula Deen recipe, Krispy Kreme bread pudding, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with any of the words in that sentence. But a couple of very quick things coming up here at the museum. On Saturday, we have the opening of our next exhibition, Concept to Canvas, and it's where we have 6 contemporary artists, and we're pulling the curtain back on their studios to see their working method and how they work up a big painting from photographs or sketches or whatever their process happens to be. And I think you'll really enjoy the exhibition and get a lot out of it. But you'll get even more out of it if you come Saturday for the opening. Regular members 1 to 3, circle members 4 to 6, and then both of those will be capped off by a panel discussion in the theater at 4 o'clock and at 6 o'clock. So please come and enjoy that exhibition. That also will be our donor recognition event for the year. And we've got a couple other surprises, I think, that we may spring on you. So please plan to be here for that. And then our next event coming up will be our singer-songwriter series, our legendary singer-songwriter series. We have Karen Staley, who will be here on the 16th. That's a Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. And she wrote hits like Keeper of the Stars for Tracy Byrd and Let's Go to Vegas by Faith Hill, among other #1 hits that she's written. And so that'll be a lot of fun. And that will be my last day at the Booth Museum, the 16th. So come out and enjoy that event with me that day, please. I'd like to have some company. Let's see, what else? Oh, little birdie told me it's Lisa Wheeler's birthday today. And Jim Eaton's. Cool. So happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lisa and Jim. Happy birthday to you. And many more on Channel 4. But enough of that. Let's get to what we came to do, shall we? Okay. Enough with the announcements. Okay, so we had this crazy idea that I would figure out what the top 10 moments were over the 25 years that I've been involved with the Booth Western Art Museum. And my mother-in-law said that we really messed up because there's no tissues on the table. But hopefully you will enjoy this and be joy-filled with me as we go along through this. And these are generally moments that happen here at the museum. There are plenty of really cool things that happen other places, like at some of the great ranches around the country, as you saw in those pictures, or at other museums, or member trips, or so those kinds of things that were very memorable as well. But I tried to limit it generally to things that happen here in the building or on this property. So, I'm going to ask you for 10 drum rolls today. So, number 10. The 50th anniversary of the Cowboy Artists of America. So, known around here as that blankety blank CA50 event. because we about drove the staff into the ground with the schedule of events we did that weekend. We had a golf tournament, we had a shotgun shooting tournament, we had a historic house tour, we had 3 big meals here, we had a gala art auction, we had 3 exhibitions that we put up for that. It was quite the event. How many of y'all were here for part of that? Wow, quite a few. That's great. Those of you who don't know, this was in 2015, and we recreated that picture, which was the founding of the CA, and we had that picture put on a poster, and everybody got a chance to get it signed by all the current artists who were here, which I think all but 1 or 2 were here. That was a pretty big deal to get all those artists in one place at one time. And we did a symposium on the history of the cowboy artists. So it really was a very full weekend. And, oops, what did I do, Lindsay? Somebody doesn't want me to leave. Did I do that? Okay, thank you. Reminds me of Urkel. Can I do that? Anyway, because the staff did such a great job putting on that event, they asked me to join the Cowboy Artists for America as an honorary member. And so this is the first of a few things that were recognition that came to me individually, but that I really think is a team award and goes, to the team here at the museum who does all the real work. I just get to stand up here and say thank you. So how about it for all the staff here at the museum? So this picture is from the 25-year cast reunion for Lonesome Dove, which I got to go to at the Stockyards in Fort Worth. It was quite the star-studded event. Robert Duvall was there, and Ricky Schroeder, and Danny Glover, and all the stars. And my date was Martin Greeley, which is not nearly as good as my normal date, but it ain't bad. All right, number 9. $1 million visitors. So this happened earlier this year, but I wasn't here for it. I was actually out on the road doing what I do, which is flying the flag of the Booth Western Art Museum, making friends and meeting potential donors and collectors and lenders and so on. But again, the staff was here and handled it flawlessly, and we welcomed our 1 millionth visitor to the museum. And I was getting reports from the field. Okay, we're at 99, 99, 99. The next one's going to be it. And there it was. Woohoo, 1 million visitors. Seemed hard to believe. That's a lot of people. But pretty cool. All right, number 8. Institutional recognition. What do I mean by that? Well, there were 2 groups that we really wanted to be a part of when we started the museum, and they have very high standards. And so it took us a while to get our feet under ourselves and be in a position to apply for and qualify to be a part of a couple of these groups. One of them being the Smithsonian affiliate, which there's only a couple hundred of those in the country. And they come and inspect you and make sure that you're worthy of having the Smithsonian name attached to your name. And then they give you all these rules about how you can use their name and not use their name. And the rules that you have to follow if you want to borrow things, like those wonderful Catlin paintings that we have in the Enduring Traditions Gallery. So that was a big deal. That was in 2007. And in 2008, were invited to join the museum's West Consortium, which at the time was the 10 largest and most important Western collecting museums in the country. And so that was a really big deal for us to be part of that. They later added 1 or 2 other members, and they had 13 members for a long time. And I have been honored or railroaded, depending on your point of view, into being the president of the group 3 times, including right now. So, in addition to, yeah, don't clap for that. I need another job like I need another hole in the head. But we decided earlier this year to blow that group up and start over, so that more than just the 10 or 12 pins you see in the map, we now have 28 members all over the country, and I've been trying to keep up with them with the help of a part-time paid staffer that we brought on board for the group. But I'll continue to serve in that role until the annual meeting, which is going to be sometime in February, and it can't come soon enough. But very important for the booth to be recognized in both those categories. All right, number 7. Awards for Seth. But again, really, these are team awards and for the museum as a whole. And that's the way I look at it. I was honored to receive the Kennesaw State University Flourish Award for leadership in art, the Governor's Award. I was listed in the 10 most influential people in Western art in Southwest Art Magazine. And Cowboys and Indians really got crazy, and they named me a new hero of the West. And when they called to tell me that one, I said, what in the H are you talking about? And they said, one of your members nominated you for the work that you're doing, promoting Western art and Western history and the programming that the museum is providing and so on. And so there it was in the magazine, Dolly Parton, Red Stegall, and Seth Hopkins. I still don't know how in the hell that happened, but I've got a couple stowed away, yeah. Okay, number 6. Celebrity visitors. We've had quite a number of celebrities visit through the years, and that's very fun and exciting to get to meet some cool people. And all of them have been cool. We've not had any green M&M incidents or anything like that, except for that one guy. But let's take a look at a few of them, shall we? So on the upper right, that's Red Stegall, when he was here performing during the CA50 event that we've already talked about. And to his right, you might recognize somebody who's in the room, Jim Dorsett. Looking mighty young there, Jim. And Jim and Doc and their band played with those guys that weekend. In the bottom right there, on the left is Jim Roden, who's one of the 2 people this room is now named for, the Roden Miller Ballroom. And in the middle is Larry Gatlin. And so I got to go to lunch with Mr. Roden and Mr. Gatlin. And he was in the process of hiring Larry Gatlin to do an audio book on a kid's book that he wrote. And at some point during the lunch, he reached under the table and he came up with a white bag that had a dollar bill sign on it and a piece of baling twine holding it closed. And it looked just like in the cartoons when they robbed a bank and they run in with a bag of money. He handed a bag of money over the lunch table to Larry Gatlin. And it was all $2 bills. I won't tell you how many there were, but there were a bunch of them. But that was one of the weirdest lunches I ever had. Towards the end of the lunch, though, I did ask Larry Gatlin, I said, at the risk of embarrassing our host, would you mind doing at least a chorus from All the Gold in California? One of my favorite songs growing up. And he said, yes, I'll do that for you, but the price for that is you have to listen to the story about how I wrote it. And I said, well, throw me in that briar patch any day. So he said he was playing the Hollywood Bowl, and he got in his rental car to drive to an appointment and eventually to the airport. And he pulled out behind this station wagon that was loaded to the gills full of stuff. And he happened to look down and notice it was an Oklahoma license plate. And he thought, here was the modern Grapes of Wrath or migration story. And he said to himself, it's too bad all the gold in California is in a bank in somebody else's name. And that became the hook line for the song, which he pulled over on the side of the road and wrote on the rental car agreement. And he said in the maturation of that song, he changed one word from what had been on that original rental agreement. And then he sang the song. So that was one of the very cool experiences I got to have. Jim Roden just gives $2 bills to everybody. It's one of his things. Buck Taylor in the middle there. And of course you recognize the guy there on the lower left, Jay Leno. And the upper left, guys who are just here, Riders in the Sky. I'm sorry, Sons of the Pioneers. God, lightning's gonna strike. Roy Rogers Jr. in the middle there, which was pretty cool to have him here recently. Came out of retirement just to do those two shows here at the booth. All right, and then these guys aren't near as famous, but they're equally as talented, and these are some of the songwriters that have been in our legendary singer-songwriter series that we've done. Steve Dean, Mark Sanders, Pat Alger, Adam Wheeler, Kent Blasey. These guys have written the soundtrack to our lives over the last 3 or 4 decades. If you listen to any country music or crossover pop music, these are the guys who wrote the hits. And it's been incredible to have them here at the museum as well. Okay, number 5. Major exhibitions. So I couldn't narrow it down to just one, just like I couldn't narrow it down to one celebrity. But we have had some incredible exhibitions here at the museum over the last 20 plus years. And so I just picked 3 or 4 to highlight. And the one that really first put us on the map was the Ansel Adams A Legacy exhibition, which was 2014, I believe. And that's the one that finally got people in Atlanta going, where is that place? Where's that Ansel Adams exhibit? And it set all the records that we've been chasing ever since. And what we found out was the reason Ansel Adams was so popular was that 90% of the people who came in said, when I was in college, I went to the bookstore to get a poster to put in my dorm room, to decorate my dorm room. The Ansel Adams posters were the cheapest. And you could buy Half Dome Yosemite or some of those other great ones for like 10 or 15 bucks. And so just about everybody had one in their dorm room or remembers one of their neighbors having one in their dorm room. And so I think it was pretty smart that the Ansel Adams people, whenever they did that, decided to go for the mass distribution on those and make it up on quantity, and made Ansel Adams the household name that he is today. So, Frederick Remington was a big deal. That's a billboard that was actually in the middle of downtown Atlanta. And in that exhibition, we primarily highlighted him as a painter, not as a sculptor, which a lot of people didn't know he was a painter or that he was one of the leading painters of his day. On the lower right there is the Howard Turpin retrospective, which was a very important exhibition as well. The greatest living Western artist by pretty much any measure. And when I said that, when he was here for the opening, he said, "What a politician you are." Not one of my favorite compliments, but I took it in good humor. It was interesting when Howard was here. He was then, let's see, he's 96 now, so he was 86, 87 maybe. The last day he was here before he went home, on Sunday, we had a free day, and said, "Howard, would you like to go visit a Civil War battlefield? Or would you like to go to Barnsley Gardens? Or would you like to go somewhere else historic? Or, go to the lake, or do something fun, go to one of the other museums?" He said, "No, what I really want to do is go visit my friends," which he meant the works in this exhibition. Because he said, "I will probably never see my friends again." And so it was just me and him in that exhibit gallery, with him walking around in each painting, sizing it up. I didn't want to bother him, so I didn't ask him what he was thinking, but it was pretty obvious that it was a moving experience for him, and it certainly was for me. And I believe we opened that on Mr. Osher's 80th birthday, or thereabouts. It was about his birthday week that we opened it. And I said, "What do you give the man that has everything?" "You give him a Howard Turpin exhibit." So I let John come up and cut the ribbon on that exhibit, and then we went to dinner. And it was, again, one of the great days here at the museum. And then lower left, of course, is Warhol in the West, which most of you know was my master's thesis. And so this was an exhibition I had worked on close to 20 years by the time we opened it. And, that was my baby that I had worked on and off over the years on. And guess when it opened? Early 2020. So guess what happened to it? It opened here with no problem, and we closed it here with no problem. But then it was supposed to go to Oklahoma City, to the National Cowboy Museum, and be on view for 4 months. Well, it got there, was open a week, and they closed the museum, with COVID, of course, and it stayed closed for about 2 months, and they reopened it, and the exhibit was up for about 3 weeks. And so I was out there at the beginning and the end doing some programming with them, but didn't get near the run that it should have. And it was supposed to go from there to Tacoma, Washington, and their museum was just flat closed, and they did not take the exhibition at all. So my debutante did not get her day at the ball. Stealing my thunder? We brought it back home, stripped it down, retooled it a little bit, sent it back out, and it did get a run at the Otto George Museum and at the James Museum down in Florida. So it was eventually seen at 4 venues, but just not the way it was planned. So that's the way things go, right? Okay, number 3. Okay, I was trying to keep an eye on that. Thank you. Yeah, it wouldn't be good if I fell off this thing, would it? That would be the bottom 10 moments. Okay, number 4 was the opening of the new wing and the very first galas. And how many of y'all were here for that in 2009? So, the original building was 80,000 square feet and ended, out here where the atrium is. And when we were building the original building, Mr. Osher kept saying, how do we add on if we want to do that? And I thought, 15 or 20 years, we'd be really glad that we did that. But we were 4 years into this adventure in 2007 when he walked in and said, hey, I want to add 40,000 more square feet. Now, mind you, I was in the middle of building Telescience Museum and redoing this courthouse out here for the Bartow History Museum. And I said, can I at least get those two projects done first before we start on another one? And he said, no, I might not live to see it. We need to do it now. Okay. So we had 170,000 feet of projects on 3 sites going. That's when I started losing this and gaining this. But in the end, it was all worth it. This was in January of 2009. We had a 2-night gala to open the new wing. And in this lower right picture, you're seeing Howard Turping and G. Harvey, who are our first 2 honoree artists in our Artists of Excellence series. We did G. Harvey on Friday night, and Howard Turping on Saturday night. It was quite an event, and everybody decided that we need to make that an annual event, and so we've been doing the gala ever since. And I see several people here who have chaired the gala over the years, so thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, number 3. The actual opening of the museum. So this was August of 2003, and we threw the doors open to this place, and a few people showed up. And I say a few because we'd almost gone out of our way not to publicize the museum and not to publicize it opening, partially because of our donor not wanting his name associated with it and trying to hide that. And there was one article that came out that had his name in it, and I thought I was going to get fired over that one, but I wiggled my way off the hook. But you know, we actually had thoughts that too many people would show up at some point and it would ruin the experience in the galleries. Of course, that didn't happen either, but it was a very kind of, what do I want to say? It was anticlimactic a little bit. You know, we had worked on the building for 3 years, and everybody in town kept saying, when's it going to open? When's it going to open? When's it going to open? And we kept saying, in a couple months, in a couple months. And they eventually got tired of that, and I think lost a little interest along the way. But once we got open and we started doing some programming and having some exhibits come in, we built a pretty nice audience to the point where we've now had over 1 million people through this building. So that was the opening, August 2003. Okay, number 2, we're getting close. For me, the most incredible thing, other than number 1, that's happened was when the Booth Museum was named the best art museum in the U.S. by the 10 Best USA Today Reader's Best Readers Poll. And when we were nominated in 2020, I thought, wow, what an honor to be mentioned in the same sentence with the Smithsonian American Art Museum, the Met, the Chicago Art Institute, places like that. I am so thrilled that we're even nominated to be in those 10 or 12 museums that were nominated. But our members and our volunteers and our staff got behind it, and they cajoled, and they wheedled, and they convinced their friends and relatives and neighbors, and the artists had a big part to play in it as well, getting everybody to vote every day on every device that was known to man. And in the end, we won. And I said at the time, and I still believe this, we may not be the best art museum in America, but we do have the most loyal and enthusiastic group of volunteers, members, staff, patrons, artists, supporters of any museum in the country, and that I am fully convinced of. So thank all of you. And then so, having won in 2020, we were renominated in 2021. And I was convinced that, this couldn't happen twice. One of those other museums that has, 20 or 30,000 members compared to our, 1,800 or whatever we had at the time, is going to get behind this thing and steamroll us. Well, I'll be darned, we won again. And the same thing happened the third year. It was like, wow, we really have an enthusiastic support group. And so in 2023, I asked everybody not to push that and for us to walk away as a 3-time champion, a three-peat, and let somebody else have the glory. And that's what happened. So our 3-year run, incredible, thanks to all of you. All right, and we've reached number 1. Oh, I missed a slide. Okay, now number 1. Buck Taylor said he was scared of me. Now, those of you who don't know Buck Taylor, he was newly on Gunsmoke, and he was Turkey Creek Jack Johnson in the movie Tombstone. And we had him here for the 25th anniversary of Tombstone. I did a program with Jim Dunham and myself with Buck Taylor. And in the middle of it, he said this.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm scared of him.
He's not as bad as Cosmatos.
I'm not going to try to throw you in a river.
Yeah.
So the context of that was that Jim kept getting ahead of the script and was going off on these stories like Jim Dunham is prone to do. Any of you who know him. And I had to reel him back in a few times and say, now, Jim, we'll get to that in a minute, but back up. And so having heard that a few times, Buck was worried I was going to jump on him for doing that. And so that's why he said he was scared of me. And what you can hear in there is also talking about George Cosmatos, who was the second director brought in to do the movie Tombstone, and he had threatened to throw Buck Taylor in a river if he didn't shape up and fly right. So they were comparing me to Cosmatos. So anyway. The real number 1. The greatest moment of my life, and certainly the greatest moment I've ever had here at the museum, was the day that this lovely lady agreed to marry me. And we had our wedding here, right out in the atrium. And you can see the look on the preacher's face, which I think is priceless in that picture. And I had invited him here today so that we could recreate that picture. But he's having one of those procedures that you have every 5 or 10 years or so. He sure wishes he was here instead. But so the number 1 moment for Seth Hopkins at the Booth Western Art Museum was February 22nd, 2015, when Joyce and Seth got married and created the Haas Fund. Thank you. Okay, that's the top 10. Okay, I got 10 minutes before I've got to be in the car headed for the airport because I have to be in Dallas tonight for a dinner as part of the CA annual show that one of our members is hosting. And we have 30 of our members who are coming to that event tonight, which is another amazing thing is the fan club that we've developed in Dallas-Fort Worth through the years. And so this will be kind of my farewell appearance in Dallas on behalf of the Booth Museum. So, in the 10 minutes we got left, who's got a question?
I just want to say thanks.
Well, thank you very much. As I said, it's been my honor to lead this great team of staff, volunteers, patrons, members, circle members, artists. Everybody associated with this place has just always been top-notch. My staff gets tired of hearing this, but I say the greatest people in this country make and collect Western art. You didn't see any jerks in any of those pictures. I say I might have met 5 jerks in the time I've been doing this. Now, you think about what business you could be in and say that. In 25 years, you didn't meet 5 jerks. I dare say there isn't one other than Western art. And it is the only business where the customer buys dinner. Think about that. It's the only business where the customer buys dinner. When the artists and the collectors go out, the collectors are the customers, the artists should be buying their dinner, right? That's not what happens. The collectors buy dinner for the artists, and they're making the sales. So it's the only business where the customer buys dinner. All right, questions? Yes, sir. Mr. Randy.
So over the years, I've really enjoyed coming to the interviews and seeing you interview different people. I always thought you were phenomenally prepared. What's a little bit about the process you went through? How you determine what questions you might ask?
Okay. I'll repeat the question in case you didn't hear it, which was, over the years I've done a lot of interviews with artists and other people here at the museum. And he said, I seem prepared. And what's the process? Well, it's the only thing I'm qualified to do here. Because I was a trained journalist. That's what my undergraduate degree was in, back when that J word meant something. But the biggest thing I picked up in doing interviews was to listen. And so, I may seem like I was prepared, and usually I had done a little reading up on the artist or whoever. I oftentimes had done an oral history interview with them earlier in the day, because we have a fairly active oral history program here at the museum. So I had heard some stories and knew kind of where some of the good stories were. But a good interviewer listens first, because the next best question is in the last sentence they said. And, it amazes me when I watch a lot of programs like that, where the speaker will say something very interesting, and the person doing the interview doesn't pick up on it. They go to their next question on their list. And it's a missed opportunity. So that's always been my philosophy. Hope that answers your question. Anybody else? Might be your last chance.
I have to have the last word.
Okay.
This isn't a question,
Okay.
but it's a testimonial. You and this museum changed my life, changed our lives, had a huge impact, and I'll be forever grateful.
Thank you. All right, go once.